Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padana Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavani Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Pancha Kalpata Rupyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaiva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji, for reciting the Mangalacharan. So we are continuing reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are in Canto 1, Chapter 15, and the text for today is Text 16. So, Mataji, how would you like us to proceed? Because the purport is very long today.
It's quite a big purport, so I'll read it in stages, Mataji, if that's okay.
Yes, yes. I hand over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devi Naratam Saraswatim Vyatam Tato Jayamudi Gatnashprashu Bhadreshu Nitam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavati Rutamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. So Srimad Bhagavatam 1.15.16 Yaddarshu ma pranihitam Guru Bhishma Karna Na Pritir Kartas Shalya Sandhya Balika Diyaya Atrani Amoga Mahimani Nirupitani Nopa Prashur Narahari Dasham Iva Surani. Apologies again for my Sanskrit pronunciation. The translation. Great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Bhurishrava, Shisharma, Shalya, Jayadratha, and Palika all directed their invincible weapons against me, but by his, Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of Lord Narasimhadeva, was unaffected by the weapons the demons used against him. I'll read the first part of the purport. The history of Prahlad Maharaj, the great devotee of Narasimhadeva, is narrated in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj, a small child of only 5 years, became the object of envy for his great father, Hiranyakashipu, only because of his becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. The demon father employed all his weapons to kill the devotee's son Prahlad, but by the grace of the Lord, he was saved from all sorts of dangerous actions by his father. He was thrown in a fire in boiling oil from the top of a hill underneath the legs of an elephant, and he was administered poison. At last, the father himself took up a chopper to kill his son, and thus Narasimhadeva appeared and killed the heinous father in the presence of the son. Thus, no one can kill the devotee of the Lord. Similarly, Arjuna was also saved by the Lord, although all dangerous weapons were employed by his great opponents like Bhishma. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
How appropriate today.
Very appropriate, I was just about to say. So first of all, a very happy Narasimha Chaturdasi to all of you, dear devotees. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to do service to Lord Krishna, Lord Narasimhadeva, and all of you on this very, very auspicious day. And as Mataji said, a very appropriate verse, because we have the mention of Prahlad Maharaj over here. Prahlad Maharaja has always been a devotee. He's a great devotee. He's one of the 12 Mahajans. So his devotion always existed from the day he was born, even before he was born, because he heard about the Lord when he was in his mother Kayaju's womb, when she was in Narad Muni's ashram. So Prahlad Maharaja was a born devotee, but the extent of his devotion was established on Narasimha Chaturdashi when Narasimhadeva appeared. The fact that how great a devotee he was established and manifested in the form of the Lord appearing on Narasimha Chaturdashi as Lord Narasimhadeva. So it is a very, very auspicious day and great blessings from the Lord, from Lord Narasimhadeva, for us to be able to discuss him and discuss the Srimad Bhagavatam today. And in a verse where he is mentioned. So this verse is a continuation of a string of verses where Arjun is talking about how bereft he feels and how all his powers have been lost because Lord Krishna has left this material world. In the last few verses, we have heard from other Prabhus and Matajis talking about Arjuna, talking about the various things he was able to do and he's not able to do now. And continuously saying that, I couldn't even do this. All that I was, I cannot do this. I have lost everything. I have fought in great battles. I have defeated great warriors. And yet today I am nothing. I was even defeated by Brahmanas, and I could not even protect Krishna's wives after he left the material world. I do not know why, but I have lost everything. So, and then he talks about how also Prahlad Maharaja and how he was, he went through so many arduous tests put to him by his father. He was thrown into boiling oil, he was thrown from height, he was thrown underneath an elephant's feet, and right at the end he was, his father just took up a chopper and wanted to chop him, and that is where Narasimhadeva came and saved him. So this is the content of the verse. And then in the purport, Prabhupada talks about various other warriors that Arjuna has named in the verse, the great warriors. And it's very interesting, the names of the warriors that has been mentioned. And when we talk about them in a bit, we will try and see how they are interesting in their own way. So the few things which really interested me when looking into this verse was, first of all, by talking constantly about the fact that he has lost everything when Krishna left this world, Arjuna reestablishes over and over and over and over how all of we, the Jiva Tattvas, how we all belong to Krishna. And we do not have any existence independent of Krishna. So this is a fact that he establishes in every single verse in this chapter by saying every single time that I have lost, I cannot do this because Krishna isn't there. So even in this verse, he re-establishes the fact that we all as Jiva Tattvas, we belong to Krishna. Now, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Antalila, the Lord Kaviraj Goswami says, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tara Pravartan, meaning without being authorized by Krishna, we cannot do anything. We cannot even say his name. Unless and until there is that mercy from Krishna, We cannot do that. And Krishna has established this through so many of his leelas, the most popular being the Damodar Leela, where, Mother Yashoda could not even bind him, and until he showed the constant endeavor, and until there was that mercy from Krishna, she couldn't do that. So unless and until we are empowered by Krishna, we cannot do anything. And this is mentioned in so many shastras. So it was mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and in the most popular one, in Bhagavad Gita, we hear the Lord saying that, I am the seed giving Father. Had I not given that seed, you would not be here. So he is the source of all of us. Again, coming back to Prahlad Maharaja, Prahlad Maharaj says a beautiful, beautiful prayer in chapter 9 of Canto 7. Now, he was only 5 years old. He didn't know the beginning and the end of grammar. He didn't know, flowery languages. And yet, when everybody was frightened to go to Narasimhadeva was in his Ugra form. Nobody could pacify Narasimhadeva, not even Mother Lakshmi. And to think that there is already a planet of Lakshmi Devi and Narasimhadeva. So Mother Lakshmi sees Lord Narasimhadeva every single day. So it's not that form of, that the Narasimha form of the Lord is completely new to Mother Lakshmi. And yet she says that, Lord, I have never seen this form of you before, because that form was so ugra. Narasimhadeva was so angry after killing Hiranyakashipu, and that even Mother Lakshmi had not seen such an ugra form of the Lord, and she couldn't approach him to pacify him. The demigods who were around, they couldn't approach him. But on the other side, we also know that the Lord likes it the best when his devotees are glorified. So we also would like to think that, yes, maybe Lakshmi Devi, she's the eternal consort of the Lord. She could have pacified the Lord, but they all gave the chance to Prahlad Maharaja as one of the greatest devotees to be able to do that, to be able to have the name and fame and eternity of being the person who could pacify Lord Narasimhadeva in his Ugra form. So when Prahlad Maharaj approaches Lord Narasimhadeva, and Lord Narasimhadeva puts his hand on Prahlad Maharaj's head. So we all know the Narasimha prayers, and there's a line in that, Tava kara kamala vare nakam, Tava kara kamala vare nakam, nails. So the Lord protects us, Narasimhadeva protects us through his palm and destroys through his nails. So he tore open Hiranyakashipu with the tip of his nails. Okay, so when the Lord says in the Gita, I come to the earth, I come to the material world, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam, when it comes to Lord Narasimhadeva, Paritranaya sadhunam is his palms. He protects through his palms, and he put his hands on Prahlad Maharaj's head. And as soon as he saw Prahlad Maharaja, and when he put his palm on his head, he was pacified, and Prahlad Maharaja was blessed and empowered. And when he says Paritranaya sadhunam, that's his palms in Lord Narasimhadeva. Vinashaya dushkritam, that is the tip of Narasimhadeva's nails. That is how he killed Hiranyakashipu. So when Narasimhadeva puts her hands on Prahlad Maharaj's head, Prahlad Maharaj starts speaking a beautiful prayer. And the whole of chapter 9 in Canto 7, when we come to it, we will see just how beautifully Prahlad Maharaja praises the Lord. Now, he was only a child of 5, and he didn't have all the, all the knowledge of flowery language, or the, the Shastras. And he was only just studying, he was only just learning. But he was empowered by Lord Narasimhadeva to be able to speak beautifully about the Lord, glorifying the Lord. What we see Arjun doing as well, only Arjun is doing it in a different way. Arjun is glorifying the Lord by saying how he has lost everything by not having the Lord with him. Prahlad Maharaj glorifies the Lord by saying what he has gained and what he is able to do because of him. So we see two great devotees being mentioned in this verse, both glorifying the Lord, but doing that in different ways. Okay, and we see so many instances of how the Lord empowers people by being with them. We see when Lord Ram, he puts his foot on a stone, what happens? Does anyone know the story of Ahalya?
Yes, Ahalya was a Rishi Patni, and she was cursed. And she became a stone, and as soon as Rama's feet touched the stone, she became Ahalya again.
That's it. So Lord Rama, so the touch of the Lord, whether it is, through the hand, the feet, or through the mind, the touch of the Lord is what empowers us as jivas. Without that touch of the Lord, we are nothing. And that is Arjuna, what is Arjuna saying over and over and over and over again in this chapter. So we see Lord Rama touching that foot of and Ahalya, Gautam Rishi's wife, who was cursed by Gautam Rishi because she had an affair with Lord Indra. Although Indra tricked her, but she did consummate with Indra, and Gautam Rishi got angry and she was cursed. But Lord Rama was able to take off that curse. We see Mother Ganga, when Vamandeva pierced the causal ocean and Mother Ganga came from the heavenly planets down to the earth, and she has now become, she's eternally pure now, because she has touched her waters have touched the feet of the Lord. We see Bali Maharaj. He was, the Lord sent him with the third, as Vamandeva, the third foot that Vamandeva put was on Vali Maharaj's head. And Vali Maharaj, he wasn't elevated to the heavenly planets. He was sent right down to Sutala, the planet Sutala, which is one of the lower planets, but the Lord is there, and Bali Maharaj is one of the Mahajans, one of the greatest devotees, and the Lord stands there in Sutala protecting the planet and being the guard over there. That is how much blessed Bali Maharaj is. And what to talk about the serpent Kalia in his Leela. The wives of Kalia tells Krishna, my Lord, my husband, he's cruel, but he must have done something really, really great in his past life for you to not only put your foot or feet on his head, on his hoods, but actually dance on his hoods. So how great is he, or what great things he must have done to actually be blessed with so much blessings from you. So we see how the touch of the Lord empowers devotees, and that is what Arjun is saying once again over here. And we also come across a very a slightly technical thing where Prahlad Maharaj tells his friends in the classes that, talk to the Lord, tell Lord that, we are fallen souls. We belong to the demons. We are asuras. We are demons. We are fallen souls. But tell the Lord that, oh Lord, whatever we are part of you. We are not separate from you. So please forgive us. And we know you are our best friend. So whatever we are, we know that you won't be able to throw us away. You will always accept us. And we see how later Chaitanya Mahaprabhu establishes that, or re-establishes that again through his Achinta Veda concept, where he tells his devotees again that we are the same with God, and yet we are different. We are the part and parcel of God. We come from God. The Lord has innumerable qualities. Out of those innumerable qualities, 64 qualities are the most prominent. And the Lord has given the jivas 50 of those qualities. And whereas the Lord is able to manifest all the 64 qualities in their full form, all at the same time, the jivas, despite having just the 50 of those qualities, do not have the ability to manifest all the 50 qualities at the same time. If someone is very beautiful, may be rich, but may not be very intelligent, or may not be very, wise. So all the qualities do not happen at the same time in jivas. Our soul is the same as the Lord's. It is Satchidananda. But because we are in this material world, it is covered with dirt. But in its pure form, it is the same as the Lord. So we are same as the Lord, but we are different in quantity. The quality is the same, but the quantity is different. We do not manifest. We do not have we cannot do as many things as the Lord can. But we also know from the Shastras that the Lord loves his devotees so much that he loves to empower them. And he's ready to give them everything. He's given so much. Arjuna says, I could defeat those warriors only because I had the strength from the Lord. And we see in the Vaikuntha planet, the people over there, the souls over there, they look like Narayan. So the Lord gives everything to his devotees. The only thing he keeps away from the devotees, does anyone know that? The Lord is ready to give every single thing he has to his devotees, apart from one single thing. What do you think that is? The power of creation. So the power of creation, that is the only thing that the Lord keeps to himself. But he's ready to give everything else to his devotees. And we see that in so many devotees in so many various forms. So that's one of the main things that come out of this verse. Arjun glorifying the Lord, and him glorifying the Lord by establishing the fact that he has lost a lot because the Lord is not with him. And at the same time, by talking about Prahlad Maharaj, he establishes the fact how much Prahlad Maharaj and all the pure devotees gain because Krishna is there, and how much we cannot exist if we are not empowered by Krishna. Even when we breathe, even when we move our hands, unless and until that the wanting of that hand, that reaches the Paramatma and Paramatma sanctions it, we would not be able to even talk. Even the fact that we are here in the class today, had it not been sanctioned by the Lord, we would not be here. And the great Acharyas say, and I love saying this, the great Acharya says that, you know, whenever you are talking about the Lord loves his devotees so much that even before you arrive to that place, there is the Lord there. He's there as your audience. So Krishna and Radharani is already there as our audience. He's listening. They are listening to us already. So unless and until we are empowered by them, unless and until we acknowledge their presence amongst us, we would not be able to hear us speak or listen to us speaking. So that is what Arjuna says again in this verse. And then before moving on to the second part of this purport, where he talks about various warriors, just one thing, that, you know, throughout the Shastras, not just the Bhagavatam, but all the Shastras, we see in so many ways the Lord is glorified. And Srimad Bhagavatam, obviously that's the creme de la creme, because this is where Vyasdeva finds the most happiness, because he's able to glorify the Lord now, whereas all his other Shastra up until now, he didn't glorify the Lord much. And that is the reason there was that emptiness in his heart. And only when advised and instructed by his Guru Narad Muni to write about the Lord more, he wrote the Bhagavatam. So why should we glorify the Lord? Being part of the Lord, realizing that we are empowered by the Lord. Why, as devotees, as people who are, maybe we are very beginners devotees, but we have been empowered by the Lord to understand our sambandha with the Lord, who we are, who is the Lord, and why are we here? We are able to understand the sambandha of that Lord, of us with the Lord. We are trying, through the process of abhidaya, we are trying to establish that sambandha with the Lord. And we are trying to reach the supreme, the prayojana. We are trying to reach Krishna Prem or Bhakti Yoga through establishing that sambandha, through the process of establishing that sambandha. So we've only started our journey, but, you know, I'm only speaking for myself. We have senior devotees over here who may have already reached the path, you know, is far into the path of reaching Bhakti Yoga. Or you might have reached Bhakti Yoga already. We have elevated devotees. So why is that? Why is the Lord, and Srimad Bhagavatam is it's book Bhagavatam, but it is the Lord's incarnation. So why is the Lord wanting us to glorify him in this way? Is it because the Lord is proud and arrogant and just wants to glorify him? Or is there another reason as to why we like hearing, or we want to glorify the Lord, and we want to establish through the mouths of pure devotees, we want to establish over and over how we would be non-existent without being empowered by the Lord. So why do we do that? Why do you think the Shastras, the Gurus, they advise us and instruct us to glorify the Lord and remember the Lord at all times? Any ideas?
Maybe by glorifying, obviously Krishna likes it, but it's not, he doesn't want us to glorify him because he likes it, but it purifies us when we glorify him.
Yes, Mataji, yes. The Shastras give us 3 reasons as to why we must hear, we must listen, we must read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today is Narasimha appearance day, Lord Narasimha's appearance day. It would be lovely if we can all read the Prahlad Stuti. It would be lovely if we can read the Narasimha Kavach mantra or do the Narasimha prayers. So the Shastras say that the prayers to the Lords are spoken by the true Vaishnavas, or the pure devotees. And because they are spoken by pure devotees, they are flawless. They are the absolute truth. And this is the this is what needs to come to us. This is the instruction, the advice that needs to come to us. This is this is what should be heard by us for us to realize the truth. So that is the first reasons, because it is they are spoken by pure devotees and pure Vaishnavas. And because they are spoken in Devanagari, in Sanskrit, Devanagari, the language of the Devas, the gods. So they are flawless, and they should be believed, and there is no two way around it. Secondly, it is not only for us, it is also for Krishna himself. So that is the reason we see many senior devotees telling us, when you're reading a book, whether it's, the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam or any book, any of Srila Prabhupada's book, any of the authentic books of the Vaishnavas, read it to the Lord. Sit in front of the deities and read it to the Lord, because Krishna loves to hear you reading. And we know of, how he loved listening to the Srimad Bhagavatam from his old devotee in Vrindavan. And when one day the devotee asked his son to read it, and the son read a wrong chapter, Krishna came in the dreams of the devotee and said, no, even if you read the wrong chapter, even if you can't see, even if you're old and can't see the words properly, can you please read? Because I like you reading. So Krishna does not see what you're reading. Krishna sees the bhav in you, the devotion, the love for him in you. So when you are reading Shastra, when pure devotees are praying and you are reading those prayers, Krishna is happy, because A, Krishna sees the love in you for him, and B, Krishna sees the love of the devotees who are speaking those prayers. So it's two-way love. Krishna loves it when he sees the love in us. He loves his devotees even more. So by reading those prayers, Krishna sees our love for him, and Krishna also realizes the love of the devotees who have said those prayers. So say, for example, in this verse, when we are reading Arjuna saying this, Krishna sees our love for him, but Krishna also sees Arjun's love for him and Prahlad Maharaj's love for him. And Krishna is the happiest when he sees the love in his devotees, because he loves his devotees even more than the devotees can love him. He puts his devotees more than he puts himself in front. So that is why we should read the Shastras. And the third reason given to us is that by constantly reading these glorifications of the Lord, by constantly understanding how we cannot exist without Krishna, our faith in Krishna grows. So all throughout this chapter, we are in verse 16 now. So in so many verses, we have heard Arjuna saying, telling his brothers, telling Yudhishthira that, I've lost everything because Krishna is not with me. I cannot do this, I cannot do that, because Krishna is not with me. So throughout the verses, constantly repeating the same thing, that establishes our faith in Krishna even more. And we realize as we progress with each verse, our faith in Krishna improves and increases as we realize more and more how completely worthless we are without the empowerment to even breathe is given to us by Krishna in our day-to-day life, every single second. Okay, so this is what we kind of establish about the devotion that we find in this verse. And then I mean, and then Prabhupada gives us, and the verse gives us examples of some great warriors who fought with Arjuna, especially in the Kurukshetra war. And it's very interesting, the names of the warriors that have been picked up. And I don't know if we will have time to read through the entire purport, but very, very quickly, the first he talks about is of Karna, the very, very elevated warrior, the great warrior Karna. I found it very interesting that the first name chosen was Karna, and Dronacharya and Karna. So in both these men, we see that, you know, they were not, they had lots of good qualities. They were not just great warriors, but in their characters, they were good people as well. So Dronacharya was a good person, but, you know, he trained, he was the teacher. But both of them, they strayed from dharma. And what do we mean by dharma? Some people say dharma, oh, that is his dharma, is he's a Christian, he's a Hindu, he's a Muslim, he's a Jain, he's some other religion. Is religion dharma? Some others say that, oh, it is my dharma to look after my parents or my children or my relatives or my friends. So is dharma duty? Is dharma loyalty? Is dharma, you know, love for somebody? Is dharma magnanimity? No, dharma is everything. Dharma is the religiosity. Dharma is the absolute truth, the truth that Krishna has given to us through Brahma, and what we must follow in this world to be able to live a Krishna conscious life, to be able to live in the right way. If we go astray from the path of right, that is when we do not follow dharma. So we see in Karna, he was a victim of so many things, even from his birth. He was not accepted by his mother, and we have seen that when we were looking into Kunti Stuti, we heard a lot about Karna and how he was adopted, and even in the Swayamvara, when he wanted to marry Draupadi, when he wanted to take part in the Swayamvara, it was not possible because Draupadi's brother said he's a Sutaputra and his caste is low and you can't take part. And then the only person who actually gave him respect was Duryodhana. So Duryodhana gave him a lot of respect, even when Karna's father was being insulted by Bhima once. It was Duryodhana who stood up for it. Duryodhana wouldn't even trust his own brothers, but yet when Karna would go into the palace and talk to Duryodhana's wife, Duryodhana wouldn't even blink his eyelids, because that is how much trust he had on Karna. And that is what Karna really, really liked, and that also was his downfall, because it was only from Duryodhana that he got so much respect. His loyalty to Duryodhana blinded him. It blinded him and it took him astray from the path of Dharma. And that became his downfall. So it became a kind of vicious circle. He wanted to be good. He was Danveer. He donated. He lots of things. He was very charitable. He even gave up his kavach, his, what was given to him by his father. He was born with his bangles and earrings, and that was his protection for his life, given to him by his father, the sun god. And when Indra, the father of Arjuna, tricked him, came as a Brahmana and took and asked him for those, despite the fact that he was warned about it by his father, the sun god, Karna still said, no, if somebody wants something from me, I will give that to him. and he gave up something despite knowing that that might be the end of his life. And he was given, and the purport says he was given an Astra weapon called Shakti by Indra. But the Pandavas, with the help of Krishna, tricked him in the battle, and he ended up using that on Ghatotkacha, Bhima's son, rather than on Arjuna, who he had actually planned on killing with that weapon. So we see Karna. Arjuna refers to Karna, and Arjuna refers to Drona in this verse, because when talking about the Lord, the word dharma automatically comes, and we see how he talks about two very, very great warriors who had very good qualities, but because they did not believe in Krishna, because they were in the opposite side of Krishna, they went away from Krishna, and Krishna did not empower them, and they ended up losing. So again, re-establishing the fact that you can be the greatest of the greats, but if Krishna is not on your side, if Krishna doesn't empower you, there is absolutely no way you are going to win in anything in life, from the smallest to the greatest of things. The purport also talks about other warriors like Shalya. Shalya was the brother of Madri, who was the second wife of Pandu. And it's the same thing with Shalya. He was a good person. Does anyone know about Shalya? Shalya he wanted to be on the Pandavas side, but the Kauravas tricked him. So on his way from his kingdom, when he was coming to meet the Pandavas, on his way, Duryodhana set up a great feast. So I'm talking very quickly because I'm aware of the time. Duryodhana set up a great feast and treated Shalya so well, but keeping him in the background. Sorry, he did not come to the forefront. He did not let Shalya know that that feast and all that grandeur being arranged to respect Shalya was actually being done by Duryodhana. And Shalya thought that it was being done by Yudhishthira and the Pandavas. So after the feast and after all the different ways that he was treated so nicely, Shalya wanted to give a boon. And Shalya wanted to bless the person who has given him so much respect and so many things. And when he wanted to do that, that is when Duryodhana came in front of him. And he said that, okay, so you wanted to give me a boon. You can't take your words back now, so you cannot join the Pandavas now. So Shalya had to join the Kaurava army. And he didn't like that. So again, we see, people with good characters, but again, because they went on the wrong side of dharma, they left Krishna. So you can have, we see a lot of atheists, people who do not believe in God at all. And they say, there is fate. And if I just do charities and if I do only good things and, nothing bad is ever going to come to him. Yes, by doing only good things, you're accruing good karma. And you are going to get the result for that. But can you guarantee that what you think as doing good is what is the right and good thing in the eyes of dharma? How do you establish that? So on what capacity or through what reference do you know that your definition of good and right is the same definition of Krishna's good and right, or the same definition of what dharma says is the right or the wrong? So that is where, that's the fine line. And that is where people might or might not go wrong. Yes, so we see about Shalya. We also come across as let me see, there are some other we come across Drona. We've talked about Drona. We talk about we also see the Papa talking about Jarasandh. Let me just bring up the Papa. So there's Karna, there's Burisava. Burisava was the grandson of Balika. Balika or Valika was the elder brother of Shantanu and the uncle of Bhishma, and he was the oldest warrior in the Kurukshetra war. Now, his only wish was to see that there was peace in the land, but because he was in the Kaurava side, again, he had to perish. So that was Valika. And Burisava or Napta, the son of Somadatta, he was the grandson of Valika. So they were great kings. They all appreciated the wonderful strength of Arjuna because he was a devotee of the Lord. And he even advised his sons and Dhritarashtra not to pick any quarrel or fight with them. And yet because he was in the Kuru Kaurava side, he perished. And the same goes with Susharma, and the same goes with Jayadratha. Prabhupada writes quite a bit on Jayadratha because he was one of the main characters in the Mahabharata. He was the husband of Dushala, and Dushala was the only sister of the Kauravas. But Jayadratha, his character wasn't good. He had eyes for other women. Again, we go back to the part of Dharma and our four regulative principles that, your wife is who you should have eyes for, and everybody else is your mother or your sister. Now, in the earlier days, in Kali Yuga, all of that has changed. People don't see that in that we have both men and women not keeping to those rules. But in the earlier ages, that is what people followed. There was no such thing as kidnapping or other wrong things. But in Jarasandh, we see how he wanted to kidnap Draupadi. When the Pandavas were in exile, Jarasandh saw Draupadi once. First of all, he was in the Swayamvara. He couldn't win the hands of Draupadi. He was very attracted to Draupadi. He couldn't win her hands, but then he got married to Dushala. And then when the Pandavas were in exile, he wanted to kidnap Draupadi, and the Pandavas caught him, punished him, and finally, Bhima, because Yudhishthira is so kind, or was so kind, he he didn't want to his sister Dushala to go through pain, so he asked his brothers to leave Jarasandh. Jarasandh left, embarrassed that he was caught by the Pandavas. He was beaten black and blue, but he went and he performed austerities and penance to Lord Shiva, and he was given the boon. He wanted to kill all the Pandavas, and Shiva said, no, you can't do that. You cannot kill the Pandavas, because Shiva knows they are all the devotees of the Lord. But then he got the boon because Shiva is Ashutosh. Shiva gave the boon that, yes, you will be able to distract the Pandavas and hold them off for one day only. And Jarasandh used that one day of holding back the Pandavas from attacking. Do we know which one day that was? That was when Abhimanyu was killed. So Abhimanyu was, when he entered the Chakravyuh, he was surrounded by 7 great warriors. So there was a little bit of room left for him to come out, and that room needed to be there. So when you enter the Chakravyuh, you kill all the warriors and you come out. But what Jarasan did was he closed that room, and he kept the Pandavas engaged with other wars with other people. And he himself, he closed that room for Abhimanyu to come out. And as a result, Abhimanyu was killed. And this enraged the Pandavas so much that this time, I mean, even Draupadi and Yudhishthira, they were sorry that they left Jarasandha earlier. So this time, with the advice of Krishna, Arjuna beheaded Jarasandha, and it was also by Krishna's will. There was a curse that when Jarasandha's head fell on anyone's lap, that person would or if somebody put Jarasandha's head on the ground, that person would also die. So Jarasandha's father was also against the Pandavas and was quite evil in his own way. So when Arjuna beheaded Jarasandha, he beheaded him in such a way that the head flew and fell on the laps of Jarasandha's father. And Jarasandha's father, being shocked at seeing his son's head in his lap, just threw it on the ground. And by doing so, even he exploded. And that is what the purport says as well. And that is how the purport ends, that how Jarasandha was finally destroyed. So we see the purport and the verse starting with devotion, why we should be devoted to the Lord, what are the glories, how we cannot exist without the Lord, how the Lord empowers us. And then we see examples of great people, great warriors, starting with people who had good sides in their character, but were against Krishna and went a bit astray when it came to dharma, and concluding with Jarasandha, who was full of adharma. So it started with Dronacharya and Karna, but the purport ends with Jarasandha, a person who was full of adharma, establishing the fact that if you go away from Krishna, if you follow the path of adharma, destruction to yourself is what is left. Okay, so with that, I take I pray to all of you, and I conclude my discussion over here. Please correct me if I have gone wrong anywhere.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for today's session and really immersing us in all the nectarian pastimes and all the other personalities that are present, and how we started from devotion and ended up with people who envied Krishna or who were not on the side of Pandavas. So you took us through the whole journey. It was really telling to you. I mean, sometimes it's good to hear stories and not just philosophy. So today is one type of a day where I really enjoyed the stories. Are there any questions or comments? There's one question. There's one comment on the chat. Okay. Could you please recording is this class? Yes. So the class is recorded and we send it on the WhatsApp group. I mean, we
Sorry,
have
did I say Jarasandha? Sorry, it was Jayadrat. I do apologize. It is Jayadrat. Did I say Jarasandha? Oh, sorry, it is Jayadrat. It is not Jarasandha, it's Jayadrat. Jarasandha is the person who fought 17 times with Krishna. That is Jarasandha. Sorry, it's just, it is Jayadrat. So who was Dushala's husband. Yes. And Jarasandha is, you know, how that is how Krishna used to run away. That is how Krishna got the name Ranchol, because he ran away from the battle so many times. And that is when fighting Jarasandha. So that's different. I don't know why I said Jarasandha. Yeah, it is Jayadrat. Similar names, yeah.
similar names. Yeah, so I was just telling Chandni Mataji, yes, we do record our sessions and we put it on a YouTube link. If you could give us your WhatsApp number, we could pass you that link and then you can listen to the recording. You can write your number on the chat and I can take it down. Okay.
Sorry, apologies again for, I don't know, I feel so bad for saying Jarasan now. I don't know where I got that.
It's okay. He wasn't a devotee anyway. So
He wasn't a devotee, and he had too similar a name to Jadret, yeah.
So if there are no comments, and Chandni Mataji, we haven't got your number yet, but if there are no comments and no other questions, we can end the session because we have exhausted our time. So we can thank Mataji. Sorry for the low turnout. Today there is a festival at the temple due to Narasimha Chaturdashi. So devotees have joined them. So would anybody like to thank Mataji? Okay, maybe.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji, for the class. It was really nice listening to the class.
Thank you, Mataji, for your blessings.
Okay, so we can end the session our traditional way by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra once to glorify Panchali Kar Mataji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhu patitanam pavanebhyo Prabhupada ki jai. Grace ki jai.
ISKCON Heritage ki jai.
Thank you very much, Ritu
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much, and happy Narasimha Chaturdashi to all of you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Chandni Mataji, I'll add you to the group. Hare Krishna. I'm ending the session.